Right now on Good Morning America, first look, a new bailout for American farmers, how President Trump is hoping it will lead to lower food prices. Brutal cold, snow, and slippery roads for millions of Americans this morning. And now the new concern, up to a foot of rain in part of the West. High water rescues reported overnight. The lawsuit claiming a man was served 33 drinks before his death on a cruise ship. New evidence in the case of accused CEO killer Luigi Mangione, including a note on what kind of shoes he wanted to wear. The real-life Hollywood drama, the new battle to stop Netflix from buying Warner Brothers. What happens next? Plus, what could be the first new treatment in decades for men trying to regrow their hair. A messy Monday Night Football game that saw a play never seen before in the NFL. And this morning, how rock star Gene Simmons is pushing Congress to change the radio business.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America, First Look.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Hanna Battah. We begin with two big issues right now, the cost of food and the cost of health care.
When it comes to food prices, President Trump has announced a new aid plan for farmers. And when it comes to health care, Congress is preparing to vote on a plan to prevent insurance premiums from skyrocketing. ABC's Lionel Moise has the latest on both issues.
This morning, President Trump announcing a lifeline for American farmers hurt by his trade policies. Trump now planning to use revenue from tariffs to pay for a $12 billion bailout.
This relief will provide much needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops. And it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices.
The president blaming Democrats for Americans' concerns about affordability.
We inherited high prices. We inherited the biggest inflation in the history of our country.
One major affordability concern centers around health care. Insurance premiums are set to skyrocket next month for millions of Americans because Obamacare subsidies are set to expire unless Congress takes action. But some lawmakers say they're not optimistic a plan will come together in time.
We don't live in La La Land.
The Senate is expected to vote this week on a bill from Democrats that would extend Obamacare tax credits for 3 years. But that bill is expected to fail because it does not include reforms to Obamacare that Republicans want.
Democrats' great scheme to fix health care, Obamacare, has failed. So what are Democrats proposing to do this week, Mr. President? Introduce reforms? Perhaps try a different approach?
Republicans have no plan. They are so divided between themselves they can't even put a plan together.
And new signs of trouble on Capitol Hill. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace lashing out at Speaker Mike Johnson in a New York Times op-ed, claiming House leadership has been marginalizing rank-and-file members and women. Mace writing, "Here's a hard truth Republicans don't want to hear. Nancy Pelosi was a more effective House Speaker than any Republican this century." Adding, Pelosi understood no majority is permanent. Mace, who's running for governor of South Carolina, claims her House colleagues are letting politics get in the way of policy. The op-ed follows outgoing Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's appearance on 60 Minutes, where she said she believes Republicans are afraid to stand up to President Trump. Trump responding, calling her a low IQ traitor and saying she made many really stupid statements. Back to that bailout for farmers, $11 billion will be used for one-time payments to crop farmers. Many of them have been hurt by the trade war with China. As for China, it just reported a record $1 trillion global trade surplus. Hannah, Sophie?
Lionel, thank you. It's another frigid morning from the Midwest to the Northeast. Wind chills are in the single digits or below zero from Michigan to Maine, and they're in the teens as far south as Virginia. Drivers there can expect slick roads this morning, just like I-95, when this Tesla crashed into a tree last week, bursting into flames. An officer pulled the driver to safety. Meanwhile, the Pacific Northwest is bracing for up to a foot of rain this week. 2 high water rescues were reported east of Seattle. We'll have your forecast in a few minutes.
Breaking overnight, Honduras has issued an international arrest warrant for its former president, just pardoned by President Trump. Juan Orlando Hernandez is wanted for money laundering and fraud. He was released from a U.S. prison last week. Trump saying Hernandez was unfairly treated when he was sentenced to 45 years for drug trafficking. His whereabouts are unknown.
President Trump now appears to be walking back his pledge to release video of a controversial airstrike on a drug boat near Venezuela. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the details. Nicole, good morning.
Sophie, good morning. As pressure ramps up on President Trump and the Pentagon to release that video, some lawmakers are preparing to get a crucial briefing from the president's national security team.
This morning, President Trump backtracking on his pledge to release the full video of this airstrike from September. The video shows the initial attack by U.S. forces that destroyed an alleged drug smuggling boat, killing 9 of 11 people aboard. A second attack, not seen publicly yet, killed the 2 survivors. Critics say the second strike may have violated international law.
Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
Just last week, the president said this while speaking to our Selena Wang.
Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are now pushing to pass a bill that would require Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to release the full video to the House and Senate Armed Services Committees.
Whatever we were to decide to release, we'd have to be very responsible about. So we're reviewing that right now.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court appears ready to expand the powers of the president, this time when it comes to oversight of federal agencies. The court heard arguments yesterday on whether President Trump can remove Democratic members of the Independent Federal Trade Commission, which would roll back decades of legal precedent. ABC's Devin Dwyer covers the court.
All 6 conservative justices seemed ready to give President Trump the ability to remove a Democratic member of the Federal Trade Commission simply because he disagrees with her policy positions. Congress wanted that agency and others like it, independent agencies, to be free from White House supervision and White House interference. They created these positions that are appointed by presidents but not removable unless there is cause. Now, the president argued, his attorneys argued that is unconstitutional, that a president has to have full control over agencies that execute law enforcement and rulemaking authorities.
The liberal justices defended the agencies as they were designed by Congress, arguing they must be bipartisan.
And we're expecting a final ruling on the case in June. Sophie.
Nicole, thank you. Now to Luigi Mangione's battle to get crucial evidence barred from his trial in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione's hearing resumes today after a Pennsylvania police officer testified about searching his backpack. Another officer was heard on body camera video suggesting they needed a search warrant. Prosecutors released new photos of items allegedly seized during Mangione's arrest, including hand-drawn maps of Pennsylvania and Ohio and an apparent checklist saying pluck eyebrows and buy black shoes.
Now to a legal battle over a man's death on a cruise ship after allegedly being served nearly 3 dozen alcoholic drinks. His family now demanding change when it comes to unlimited drink packages. This morning, Royal Caribbean faces a lawsuit after a man's death on board Navigator of the Seas. 35-year-old Michael Virgil was sailing from L.A. to Mexico with his wife and son last year. But according to the lawsuit, the room wasn't ready right away, and Virgil spent time in a bar area. He was allegedly served 33 alcoholic drinks.
He was obviously intoxicated. He was not a big drinker. He was not used to this.
He's putting his hand on people.
Virgil was seen kicking in a door, reportedly threatening the crew. Security eventually detained him after a struggle. The autopsy ruled his death a homicide, saying he died by the combined effects of mechanical asphyxia, obesity, cardiomegaly, and ethanol intoxication.
Everything that happens on board is tracked digitally. There will be a digital footprint of everything, including when the rooms were available, how many drinks were served, that sort of thing.
Royal Caribbean saying, quote, "We were saddened by the passing of one of our guests, worked with authorities on their investigation, and will refrain from commenting any further on pending litigation," end quote. The family's lawyer now calling for change in the industry.
They entice people by thinking they're getting a good deal with the unlimited drink package, and then patrons on a vacation, hoping to have a good time, think that they need to maximize it to get their money's worth. The problem for that is there's no regulation. There's no one ever saying no, it seems like.
The family lawyer says because the ship was in international waters, any damages awarded will be limited.
An American astronaut is back on Earth after spending 245 days on the International Space Station. Johnny Kim and 2 Russian colleagues arrived in snowy Kazakhstan this morning. During their time in space, NASA says they traveled about 104 million miles.
Time now for your Tuesday weather.
Good morning. We're waking up to bitterly cold wind chills in the Northeast. Teens from the nation's capital all the way up to New York City and Boston, even below 0. That's what it feels like in northern New England. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Northwest, atmospheric rivers slamming moisture onto the coast and inland, Could be upwards of 6 to 12 inches of rain when this event is all said and done by the end of the week. Portland all the way up to portions of Washington near Seattle. And the wind will be a big story in the high plains, and also snowfall accumulating from Minneapolis to Milwaukee. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, a horse galloping down one of the busiest highways in the country.
You're going to want to see that. Also ahead, Netflix responds after another company tries to take over Warner Brothers to reshape Hollywood.
And later, RFK Jr. tries to get people to work out at the airport.
Wait.
A runaway horse was spotted galloping down this New York highway near JFK Airport. Stunned drivers called police, and officers managed to safely capture the horse, eventually returning it to its owners nearby.
Rock star Gene Simmons is set to testify on Capitol Hill today as he pushes for artists to get royalties when their songs are played on the radio. The KISS frontman is urging lawmakers to pass the American Music Fairness Act, saying it would correct decades of injustice. He says singers should be paid for their work.
So when you hear Elvis's song or Sinatra's song on the radio, we have to understand that everybody's getting paid. The record companies, radio stations, the executives, ad infinitum, ad nauseum, except Elvis never made a single penny from broadcasting his song.
The legislation has been stuck in a House committee since last January.
Now to a Hollywood-like drama involving Hollywood itself and ownership of an iconic brand.
This morning, the latest in a bidding war that could reshape Hollywood. Paramount now launching a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery in an effort to buy the studio without its leaders' approval, appealing instead to shareholders. The new bid challenges Netflix, which recently struck its own $82 billion deal to buy Warner Brothers studio operations and HBO. But now, Paramount is vowing to buy the entire company in a cash deal valued at $108 billion.
We are offering shareholders $17.6 billion more cash than the deal they currently have signed up with Netflix.
Paramount CEO David Ellison argues the Netflix-Warner Brothers deal would create a media giant that would stifle competition. Had Netflix already owned Warner Brothers and HBO, the combined studios would have dominated yesterday's Golden Globe nominations. Critics also fear the Netflix deal could lead to the closure of many movie theaters. But the co-CEO of Netflix insists the combined company would still release Warner Brothers movies in theaters.
I think it's really important to note we're deeply committed to releasing those movies exactly the way they'd release those movies today.
President Trump says he'll personally be involved in whether the deal goes through, warning the combined company's market share could be a problem.
I have to see what percentage of market they have. We have to see the Netflix percentage of market, Paramount, the percentage of market. I mean, none of them are particularly great friends of mine.
The private equity firm of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is helping finance Paramount's takeover bid.
It's now up to Warner Brothers to respond to Paramount. It's expected to do so within 10 business days.
Coming up, a new low for gas prices.
Also ahead, what could be the first new treatment in decades for men trying to regrow their hair.
Back now at the commuter train near Chicago, slamming into that SUV partially on the tracks. A woman had stopped after crossing the gate. That crossing gate came down behind her, but suffered only minor injuries. A new low for gas prices. The national average now stands at $2.90 a gallon, down 18 cents in the last month.
We're learning more about the Miss Universe contestant who tripped and fell off the stage. Miss Jamaica suffered a brain bleed with loss of consciousness and other significant injuries. She's planning to return to Jamaica for more treatment.
We turn now to the new hope for men with thinning hair. It could be the first new hair regrowth treatment in 30 years.
There may be new hope for hair-challenged men, and it's backed by science.
Our hope is to address a category that has been stagnant for 30 years. You know, when you think of 65 million American males have androgenetic alopecia, and actually very few of them get treated.
A potential new treatment for hair regrowth is showing promise in late trials.
This new treatment offers down the road a significant breakthrough because of its unique topical application and focus at the level of the hair follicle.
It's called clascoterone. It works by blocking hair shrinking hormones right at the follicle, encouraging them to fill out again. One trial showed a more than 5-fold improvement in the targeted scalp area, with none of the side effects, such as sexual dysfunction, seen with other hair growth treatments.
What we see here is a drug that's very effective. It's very safe in the studies we've done so far.
But we've yet to see how it compares to current products like Rogaine. And experts warn a so-called cure for baldness still remains elusive.
You really need to start treating this early when it starts to first develop, because if you don't, it will progress. And a lot of the treatments that we currently have do not address extensive hair loss.
The drug is expected to be submitted to the FDA after a 12-month safety follow-up.
Coming up, a bear crashes a Christmas parade.
But first, something never before seen in the NFL. It is time to check the pulse. We begin with that messy overtime thriller on Monday Night Football.
A night to forget for Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. He threw an interception that was fumbled during the return. Then Hurts recovered the ball, but he fumbled again, giving him 2 turnovers on the same play. First in the NFL.
Oh my gosh, here's the chaos as seen in last night's animated Monsters, Inc. telecast on ESPN2. And Hurts wasn't anywhere near done.
His 4th interception ended the game in overtime. The Chargers won it 22-19.
Ouch. Another football headline, the Colts may turn to 44-year-old retired quarterback Phillip Rivers after the injury to starter Daniel Jones. Rivers' daughter is older than the Colts' backup QB. Okay, next, the Trump administration wants to make travel a bit healthier.
Yeah, so 2 cabinet members took turns doing pull-ups at Reagan National Airport. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and Health Secretary RFK Jr. there want to build mini workout spaces at airports.
They're also calling for healthier food options and play areas for kids.
Next, a black bear crashing a Christmas parade.
So that bear strolled down the street in Gatlinburg, Tennessee before running through a gap in the crowd and back into the woods. No harm, no foul.
Next, one of the Jonas Brothers is taking flack after trying to parallel park in New York.
Yeah, someone posted this video captioned, "I've been watching Joe Jonas parallel park for the last 7 minutes." Jonas ended up responding in the comments, writing, "And I saw you watch and not help once." He then posted his own video with the caption, "Just finished up parallel parking from yesterday."
I love how he's always in on the joke.
It is hilarious, and you've got to take it in stride. Parallel parking, one of those shared experiences. It's not easy for anyone.
Top headlines next. Checking more top stories, President Trump has announced a $12 billion bailout for farmers hurt by his tariff policies. He says it should help lower food prices. Meanwhile, Trump is now backtracking on a pledge to release video of a controversial airstrike on a boat near Venezuela, saying it's up to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to release the video.
Northern Japan is on alert for aftershocks after a 7.5 magnitude earthquake. More than 30 people were injured, mostly from falling objects.
A small plane crash landed on I-95 in Central Florida after reported engine issues. The plane hit one vehicle. The driver suffered minor injuries. 2 men in the plane were not hurt.
Still no Powerball jackpot winner after last night's drawing. That means tomorrow night the top prize will be worth at least $930 million.
And your weather, up to a foot of rain today through Thursday in the Northwest. Snow in the Rockies and Northern Plains. Dangerously cold in the Midwest and Northeast.
And finally, a young banjo player getting a little help from her friends.
She spoke to Danny New.
There are all sorts of ways to control a puppet. But how about by using a banjo?
It's nice to be like, ah, I found something that I enjoy that other people enjoy too.
California's Phoebe Sanders here has been picking up millions of views on social media as she ties a traditional folk instrument called a jig doll to strings wrapped around her fingers. Usually, jig dolls are purposefully bounced on a platform, but hers is rigged to kind of dance along with her strums.
So the biggest thing is getting his feet to like hit the platform at the right height. So I have a bunch of hooks in my ceiling from all these videos. There's just a ton of hooks up here.
Now, you may have guessed this already, but her doll is named Gilligan, as in,
make way for the Red Ball Express.
The titular character from the 1960s TV show Gilligan's Island. She ordered him custom made.
How did you come to like Gilligan's Island?
We watched a good bit of classic TV growing up, and Gilligan's just like the most endearing character ever.
However, Phoebe has not stopped there. Like Gilligan, She knows how to grab attention with a bucket hat, but also with a turkey, a reindeer, and more than a half dozen ghosts at once.
The more things you add, the harder it gets.
And while she did not invent this method, Phoebe certainly has found a lot of ways to get creative with it, looping her in with a whole new community in the process. One commenter writing, "In my circles, this is the coolest person alive." Not sure if that's referring to Phoebe or Gilligan, but hey, they're a team. By the way, Phoebe's only been playing banjo for 6 years and only had Gilligan for about 1, so if you can get a banjo and a jig doll, you could be like us in no time, guys.
Looking good, Danny. That's your Good Morning America first look.
Have a great Tuesday.